All right. Hi, everyone. Okay. Well, we're almost at the end of summer. Labor Day is right around the corner. So, what happened in the second half of August? Number one, President Trump's push for a Russia Ukraine ceasefire is stalled. Number two, China's powerful international liaison department minister, Liu Jianchao, has suddenly fallen. And in Cambodia, tens of thousands of monks are marching in support of Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. These three events look unrelated, but in fact, they're all connected, and Beijing is behind it. So let me tell you about them. Recently, I came across some striking photos. Let me share them with you. Here we go. Yes, I saw this one. They are Cambodian Buddhist monks marching in the streets, showing support for President Trump to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. At first glance, it looked surreal. According to reports, Cambodian Prime Minister himself nominated Trump, and supposedly as many as 70,000 monks in his country voiced their support. Big outlets like Reuters and USA Today even picked up the story. Where we go? Yeah, here we go. But when I saw it, something felt off. They don't look right to me. Think about it. Buddhist teachings forbid monks from engaging in politics. Sure, a few monks might personally like a politician, that happens, but tens of thousands in a small country like Cambodia, that doesn't add up. And it's not just any country, it's Cambodia, one of Beijing's closest proxy states. What are the odds that so many monks there would openly rally for an American president under today's tense geopolitical climate without Beijing's fingerprints on it? To me, it looked staged, organized, and very suspicious. But I couldn't quite figure out why until today. That's when Professor Yuan Hongbing, the Chinese dissident in Australia, dropped a bombshell that suddenly made everything click. In fact, some of you asked me, here's Professor Yuan. Yeah, somebody asked me about him, I think it was this weekend. Guess what? He's back. So he revealed in one of his programs that he revealed Beijing's secret plan to manipulate Trump using the lure of the Nobel Peace Prize, all with one goal: to push Trump into making concessions on Taiwan. And according to Yuan, this wasn't just Xi Jinping's idea, it's an overall strategy that involves Sino-US relations and Taiwan. CCP's strategy in Taiwan also involves Putin. And the entire story was also tied to the protagonist today, Liu Jianchao. Let me show you a picture of him. And suddenly, the pieces connected. The monks chanting for Trump, Liu Jianchao's sudden downfall, and the deadlock in the Russia-Ukraine ceasefire talks, where Putin keeps playing hardball. It all lines up. The dots are connected. Professor Yuan's claims also back up earlier whispers that Liu's arrest was tied to intelligence leaks. At the time, we didn't know what he leaked. Now the dots are connected. And if what Yuan says is true, it could reshape how the Trump administration looks at Ukraine, Russia, and most importantly, its strategy toward China. I'll give my advice at the end. Let me first present what this entire story is. So I'll break it down in three sections. First, I'll talk about Beijing's strategy on Trump. Then I'll elaborate on the details of how Liu Jianchao fell. And then last but not least, I'll talk about how Russia-Ukraine ceasefire ceasefire ties into the three-way game between Washington, Beijing, and Moscow. All right, first things first. So according to Professor Yuan's contacts in Beijing, cross-checked with multiple sources, the investigation into Liu Jianchao, the man you see on the screen, who is the minister of the CCP's International Liaison Department, is directly tied to a major political conspiracy. At the heart of it, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin working together to deceive Donald Trump. So let's pause for a moment and talk about what the International Liaison Department, or ILD, really is, and why Liu Jianchao's position as the head of that department mattered so much. So the ILD is CCP's frontline unit for party diplomacy, right? The foreign ministry is the unit for the government diplomacy. This one is for party diplomacy, but it's much more powerful than the foreign ministry. Its job is to reach beyond governments and infiltrate political parties worldwide, social democrats, workers' parties, and other left-leaning groups. After Trump won a second term, the ILD's Policy Research Office delivered a secret report to the CCP Politburo. This report laid out their guiding principles for how to run United Front operations on Trump. But to understand the weight of this report, you need to know how the ILD came to dominate China's intelligence network. So before Xi Jinping's 2016 military reforms, the system was fragmented. On the military side, you had three key organs that handle intelligence. You had the General Staff Department's second department for intelligence, the General Political Department's liaison department, and the General Staff Department's third department for technical reconnaissance. And that's on the military side. On the civilian side, you have the United Front Work Department, the Ministry of State Security, and the Ministry of Public Security. They all played roles in intelligence work. So Xi Jinping's military reforms changed one thing. That is, most of the functions were pulled together under the International Liaison Department. I think rather than dealing with 6 different organizations, he wants the International Liaison Department, ILD, to kind of pulls everything together to be the umbrella for this function. So that made the ILD the chief convener and the command center for much of the CCP's global intelligence operations. And so its power skyrocketed. And so what does it do exactly? So the ILD doesn't just work on ideology. It recruits spies and United Front targets at the highest levels: politicians, celebrities, business elites. More importantly, it collects sensitive information on the overseas assets of CCP princelings and their powerful families, as well as details about their children and grandchildren. That kind of leverage is gold in China's brutal political struggles. So when Xi Jinping personally chose Liu Jianchao to run the ILD, it was a signal of deep trust. So Liu held one of the most feared and powerful posts in the CCP system. Now, here's the shocking part. According to the ILD's secret report, which they issued after Trump won the second term, their United Front principle for Western politicians was simple: use money and women as bait. Make the stakes high enough that saying no would be embarrassing. And 9 times out of 10, it worked. But when they tried to apply that principle to Trump, the analysts concluded money wouldn't move him. Women wouldn't either. At his age, the attraction was limited. The one thing they believed would truly tempt him was honor. And so, according to them, in the Western eyes, few honors shine brighter than the Nobel Peace Prize. That, the report said, was the golden key. If they could stoke Trump's desire for the Nobel, wrap it in a careful strategy, and make him believe it was within reach, they could push him to change U.S. policy. Most importantly, they could use it to make him trade away ground on Taiwan. So I have told you before how whenever CCP wants to target someone for influence, they study what you want. And it's usually, it stems from your desire, whatever your heart's desire. Is it money? Is it women? I mean, for women, I guess it's men. And then is it fame? Like in Chinese, we say 名利情. Like people fall for that. These are the three things most people fall. Notoriety or fame, and then money, and then either you could call that sentimentality or intimacy. Yeah, so those are the three things that the CCP always use to get what they want. So in short, the CCP's plan was to dangle the Nobel Peace Prize as the ultimate bait to manipulate Trump on Taiwan. And that brings us back to Cambodia. Those 70,000 monks marching for Trump's Nobel nomination, that wasn't a grassroots movement. I mean, I smelled something fishy immediately. It couldn't be, right? It was a stage-managed CCP operation from the start. Now let's turn to Liu Jianchao himself and his rivalry with Wang Yi before we get to Putin. So let's talk about his sudden downfall, because it's all related to part of that story. I mean, the CCP strategy, because I said there are three events that are related. Okay, I already told you one. That is the proposed strategy from the research department of this ILD. So that was one. Now let's talk about his downfall, the minister's downfall. So his downfall is directly tied to that secret research report. Now remember, Liu Jianchao wasn't just a diplomat. He was personally elevated by Xi Jinping, first as the handler of the overseas foxhunt operations targeting corrupt officials who had fled to the West. Then he was promoted to executive deputy director of the Office of the Central Foreign Affairs Commission, a body that Xi Jinping personally controls. And finally, as the minister of ILD. So after former foreign minister Qin Gang collapsed, Wang Yi stepped back into the job of the foreign ministry. Where is that? There he go. There he is, Wang Yi. Now, he is 75, and he should have retired a long time ago. So everyone knows his return was just a stopgap. And Xi Jinping's real plan was to move Liu Jianchao into that role. But, here's the but, Wang Yi's faction pushed back. They wanted their own man in that chair, not Liu Jianchao. So it's said that the tensions between these two, Liu Jianchao and Wang Yi, I have a picture. Oh, here we go. Has been simmering for years. On paper, they both sit at the top of China's foreign policy system, but they've never respected each other, according to some insiders. Liu Jianchao is 14 years younger than Wang Yi. He's only 61. He majored in English and even studied international relations for 2 years at Oxford. He served as ambassador to the Philippines and Indonesia. and his fluent English made him shine in diplomatic circles. Wang Yi, by contrast, studied Japanese and was ambassador to Japan. Useful, yes, but when you are dealing with Washington and the West, English opens far more doors than Japanese. So people say Liu looked down on Wang Yi for exactly that reason. So Wang Yi is an expert in Japanese affairs, but not American affairs. And also, Liu made his mark outside the foreign ministry. After serving as its spokesperson, he shifted in 2015 to the anti-corruption front, becoming Director General of the International Cooperation Bureau at the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection. That's the job I told you. That job gave him detailed knowledge of Chinese officials' hidden assets overseas. And that alone made Wang Yi and many at the foreign ministry nervous. In terms of their style, the two couldn't be more different. Liu is known as steady, smooth, and good at communication or behind-the-scene negotiation. Wang Yi, on the other hand, built his brand on wolf warrior diplomacy, loud, defiant, and combative. So when Liu emerged as the front runner to succeed Wang, he made a high-profile trip to the US in 2024. That's his, meeting Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and projecting a softer tone. That was a clear rebuke of Wang's combative style, and it infuriated Wang and his allies. So they struck back. Attacks and exposures or exposés against Liu started to circulate. And to be fair, Liu gave them plenty of ammunition. Corruption, lavish indulgence, and notorious quote-unquote lifestyle problems. In Chinese term, lifestyle problems means a questionable love life. I think that's the CCP's term. For that. So he has lifestyle problems. So Liu started to feel cornered, and so he began looking for a way out. According to Professor Yuan's sources, Liu tried to cut a secret deal with a major foreign power. His offer? A package of classified CCP documents, including the bombshell report on using the Nobel Peace Prize to manipulate Trump over Taiwan. He wanted to use these files as bargaining chips and an insurance policy for survival if the authorities ever turn on him. We don't know which country he approached. Yuan's sources only described it as a major foreign power. I guessed it's the United States, because only the United States would be interested in, knowing Beijing's strategy on Trump, right? Now, here's the problem. Liu never got that far. Xi Jinping's Ministry of State Security already had him under close watch. One of Liu's female secretaries, it turns out, was actually part of the surveillance network. And before Liu could hand anything over, he was arrested and placed under house arrest. Once in custody, Beijing insiders say he claimed he was the victim of a political setup by Wang Yi's faction. He even accused his secretary of having an affair with Wang Yi. So now if you think about it, was this a setup? Was Liu framed? We don't know. It's possible. As a result, Liu Jianchao's case, dramatic enough to resemble a soap opera, right, spread quickly in Beijing's political circles and sparked heated debates among political elites about the triangular relationship between China, the US, and Russia. And I think that major foreign power, that country, the unnamed country, is the United States. I mean, yeah. Anyways, so according to these insiders, Trump's strategic attempt to broker a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire in order to split Russia from its alliance with the CCP regime has very little chance of success. That's the view of the Chinese political elite. Now, these people are not necessarily Xi Jinping's allies. I mean, they are many of them are not. So that's just their view. It has nothing to do with their relationship with Xi Jinping. So we know President Trump's plan right now is stuck. His idea was to push for a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire, peel Putin away from Xi Jinping, and then concentrate American power against Beijing. But that hasn't worked so far because Beijing is actively backing Putin. Putin even floated the idea of China serving as one of the guarantors in any post-war peace deal. Ukraine, we know, rejected it outright. But as Professor Yuan points out, that proposal itself is proof of the no-limits partnership between Putin and Xi. Here we go. So according to Yuan's sources, at the core of the Xi Jinping-Putin pact lies a dangerous bargain. The CCP has agreed to back Russia's effort to reclaim all of the former Soviet Union's European territories, including the 3 Baltic states. And for the former Soviet republics in Central Asia, the plan is even darker: joint administration, effectively co-rule by Beijing and Moscow. In return, Russia has pledged to fully support Beijing when it moves on Taiwan. So Beijing insiders or Chinese insiders believe that even if Russia and Ukraine reach a ceasefire, no matter the terms, Trump would still fail in his bigger goal of splitting the Russia-CCP axis. Worse, if Trump were to help Putin impose a humiliating ceasefire on Ukraine, which I doubt, but that's just what they're discussing or debating. So if that were to happen, it would shatter trust between the US and Europe and expose divisions within NATO. That fracture is exactly what Putin and Xi Jinping are hoping for, and it explains why Putin has been so difficult to negotiate with. So Professor Yuan Hongbing highlighted what Putin said at the Alaska summit on August the 15th, right? So this is what he said. I don't know if this is the exact quote, but he said, if you had been the US president, the Russia-Ukraine war would never have happened. Now, interestingly, Xi Jinping once told Trump something eerily similar, right? I mean, we heard this from President Trump. Xi Jinping once told Trump that as long as you are president of the United States, I will never invade Taiwan. So Professor Yuan said that here you have 2 dictators, 2 promises, both designed to lure Trump with the same bait: support Russia's terms in Ukraine and endorse peaceful reunification of Taiwan, and they will back him for the Nobel Peace Prize. So here's the question: will Trump fall into that trap? Professor Yuan's answer is blunt. He said it's no. He said no, he won't. Now, here's my assessment. There has been so much media noises about Trump wanting a Nobel Peace Prize that it's being blown out of proportion. And some of it may even have been orchestrated by Beijing, because I think the media has taken it out of, it's just It's everywhere. I mean, if you Google it, you know. However, recently, when asked on Fox about his motivation to end the Russia-Ukraine war, President Trump replied that he wanted to boost his chances of going to heaven. So, all right, so that's just okay. So here's my advice. So, what should Trump do if he really wants to help Russia and Ukraine cease fire, right? I think he needs to change his strategy. Trying to push either Russia or Ukraine into a ceasefire is too difficult, and it won't split the Moscow-Beijing alliance, in my opinion. It will only prolong the conflict. The smarter move is to go after the root of the problem, which is Xi Jinping. Without China's support, the war would have ended long ago. Think about it. If Xi Jinping falls, Russia loses its only reliable backer, and the war would quickly come to an end. The alliance would collapse. So the Trump administration should seize the opportunity created by the power struggles inside the CCP right now. Xi Jinping's rivals in the party are not interested in an alliance with Moscow. This alliance, no limits partnership with Putin, is a Xi Jinping's trademark. So his political enemies are far more inclined toward the West. So President Trump should take advantage of that. Forcing Xi Jinping to back down is much easier than forcing Putin at this moment, especially given Xi Jinping's fragile standing inside the party. So Trump can also use the tariffs to force the CCP to yield. So the message to the Trump administration is clear. As long as Xi Jinping remains in power, you won't convince Putin to stop the war. Don't waste time trying to sweet talk Putin into a ceasefire. He won't agree as long as his best buddy, still runs Beijing. So the key to peace is, let me put it this way: the key to peace in Ukraine. Well, actually, not just in Ukraine, in both Ukraine and the Pacific, lies in China, lies in Beijing. So apply pressure there, break Xi Jinping's grip, and the rest will follow. It's much faster and much easier than trying to negotiate between Zelensky and Putin. So that's my conclusion after learning about Liu Jianchao's case and the political whispers in Beijing. I had no idea that these three events are somehow all related. So hopefully the White House is listening, because I come to the conclusion that he should put pressure on Xi Jinping. I mean, it's the perfect timing. There's just so much political turmoil in Zhongnanhai right now. All of Xi Jinping's enemies are against this alliance. Why not use that to America's advantage? So that's my talk. Hopefully it's helpful. All right, let's see. I honestly had no idea what I was going to talk about tonight until I went through everything. I think it's just fascinating to me. It really connected the dots. All right, let's see. It's beginning of the week. Let's see if you have questions for me, put my name in front so I know it's addressed to me. Otherwise, I will skip. Okay, I think I saw some super stickers flying by, so let me acknowledge them first. Brian Cow. Okay, well, thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you. I think here's another. Manny Kyla. If CCP has over 100 million members, how many members are in CCP elite? Oh, the elite are, I'm sure everyone has their own definition, but Think about there are what hundreds of hundreds of members in the central committee. So those are considered the leaders, the top echelon of CCP. So there are like maybe 500, no more than 500 between members and alternate members. And then you have past leaders, right? Retired leaders, the party elders. So I would say 1,000. Yeah, I would say 1,000, but not all 500 Central Committee members are in Beijing. Some of them are in the provinces. In fact, many of them are in the provinces. So political elites in Beijing, I would say what? Yeah, under 1,000, between 500 to 1,000. These are the movers and shakers of the party. But everyone's definition could be different. All right. Many Kaila, CCP is why Russia invaded Ukraine. Precisely. Yep. All right. All right. Let's see. Always late. Okay. Well, thank you. Always late. Here's a question forwarded by Chris from the Watcher. Please do an episode on technocracy in China. After the technocracy people were kicked out of USA and Canada, they some went to China. What do you mean technocracy? You mean big tech people? You mean technocrats? I'm not quite sure if can someone explain what technocracy people mean here? Thank you. Someone says shorts background. Like, can you do a video about Guang Zhang, the curator from Taiwan? Oh, that crazy man. He is in trouble in China now because he used to be a anti-Beijing kind of a personality in Taiwan, and then all of a sudden he flipped. He become like pro-Beijing, and that caused quite a controversial. Controversy. And then he went to China. China welcomed him, but his latest controversy was that he made some inappropriate remarks about Madame Xi Jinping. And if it infuriated the top leader. I think he was I think he is daydreaming of sleeping with her. And Xi Jinping got mad. So now he's in trouble. He's in big trouble in China. So yeah. All right. Let's see. Someone said, Lei, Trump downplayed the Nobel when Obama won the award. I don't think Trump is that attached to the Nobel Prize. Actually, if you read the interviews, he doesn't even think he will get it. So I think, but if you watch the media, they're all saying that Trump is obsessed with the Nobel Peace Prize. So that's blown out of proportion. And I think it has to do with the Beijing's narrative, because it's the same narrative as the 70,000 monks in Cambodia holding public rally to support Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. They're in the same category of publicity, right? So to me, that's staged, or the Beijing's hand is behind that. Okay. Many Kyla, if you visit Finland, I hope you try sauna. Well, I could try sauna here. Yeah, but I'm not sure if because my My aunt is a traditional Chinese doctor. She told me that my body is 湿热性, like is has like excessive heat, internal heat. So sauna will make the problem worse. So I need to ask her if sauna is good for me. um, I mean, I'm sure, doing it once in a while is fine, but doing it constantly may not be a good thing. All right. Someone said, Lei, great that you brought up the topic of the reunification of the Soviet influence spheres, so to say. Can you please further elaborate on that? Reunification of the Soviet influence. I don't have any more information to elaborate on that. I will when I get to it. Someone asked me, Xi Jinping is more of a figurehead now? Yes, he is, partially. Okay. All right. Super stickers. Someone's forwarded from Galia. Galia, you are great. What is the meaning of Russian Duma leader visit to Beijing and meeting Xi yesterday? Thank you. What's the meaning? I think Beijing is behind the reason the ceasefire negotiation is so difficult for Trump is because of Beijing. I think that visit, they could be re-strategized based on the latest development. So that's what I suggest Trump just focus on Beijing and Xi Jinping, and not just all of Beijing, just the Xi faction. I think he should just focus on that, and he will make progress. Otherwise, it's a deadlock. All right. Brendan. Well, thank you. Okay. Question from Duma is Russian parliament. Yes. Someone said Trump is okay. Someone said Trump should listen to Lei's advice. He can kill two birds with one stone. In this way, the U.S. can recover its global dominance, and his continuous dominance is U.S. internal politics. I agree. I think exactly. He doesn't need to make it a two-step process. He's making like the Russian-Ukraine ceasefire like a precondition to focus on Beijing. I mean, he will achieve peace faster if he focuses on Xi Jinping. Yeah. All right. That seems to, I reached the bottom, and I don't see a lot of questions addressed to me. Oh, here's a question from And Fury Boss. And Fury Boss. What do you think of Winnie Greco claiming that her bribe in a potato chip bag is part of Chinese culture of kindness to friends? What? Yeah, okay, so let me give... Winnie Greco is this Chinese advisor to the mayor of New York City, the current mayor. And she apparently gave cash in a bag of potato chips to, but in this case, not to the mayor himself, but to some other leaders in the city government. What do you mean Chinese culture? In Chinese culture, we don't have potato chips. Potato chips is a very Western thing. When we give money in a red envelope. So, I mean, giving money in a potato chip bag is obviously, trying to cover up by using a potato chip bags. So that's nonsense. Yeah. That's pure nonsense. All right. Okay, here we go. Here's a question from Marcus Aurelius. What do you think of China changing the world history to be Chinese-centric or origin, Native American, Japan, all world tech being written as Chinese? We should stop them from doing that. The CCP is notorious for changing history. They have already changed the Chinese history. The Chinese history taught to kids in Chinese schools today is not the real Chinese history. So the CCP has been altering history to justify its rule. It removed or to it's changing history, it's reshaping history according to its narrative, so that the history can become a better tool to brainwash people, so that people get disconnected from their real history. That's what the CCP has done to the Chinese people today, and it's when it gets powerful, it's going to do that to other cultures. It's also doing that to the Mongolians. They're changing the Mongolian dialects and language and culture. So we should stop them. Yeah. Anonymous one. Anonymous one. I truly believe Trump has been compromised by the CCP this term and acts in their best interests. He does things to appear anti-CCP, but always pulls back and gives them a layup. It's terrifying. Well, he needs to be, I think his intention is to, if you look at his policy, his tariff war, a lot of things are targeting the CCP, but he has toned down the rhetorics. Unlike his first term, he's muted the rhetorics, but he's in action. If you look at his policies in the first 6 months, they are targeting the CCP, but he's just not saying anything about it. I think he's changed. All right, that's all. Elon, someone mentioned Elon. Elon is his CCP handler. Yeah, Elon Musk is very interesting because Elon Musk has been critical of a lot of people. Elon Musk has spoken out against almost everyone, right? But he has never spoken out against the CCP. That's because Elon is one of those people who would just speak his mind, but he's never criticized the CCP. That bothers me. And his mother spends a lot of time in China, so I have a problem with that. All right, that's all for today. Thank you very much, and I will see you in a few days. Okay, bye.